I just wanted to point out, because I thought it was pretty cool, for folks that aren't familiar, full disclosure, I'm a part-time content editor for the Tim Black Show. Tim Black Show is the most popular independent Black left media show on YouTube, on the internet, essentially. And I do part-time content editing for the show. And I recently, Tim Black did a segment where, and I think he did a really important segment, actually. And the point that he was making in his segment, I think, was a really good, important point. So I want to highlight the point that he was making, but I'll kick it off by showing how he actually gave the show and me a really cool shout out. And so I just want to, I'll play that clip of Tim Black shouting out the show and shouting out and giving me a shout out. And this was tied to this story that he covered that was related to the violence at the U.S. Capitol. And he made a great point about how Donald Trump essentially could have prevented a lot of the violence, rioting, looting that happened at the U.S. Capitol. And he could have done it in a very simple, straightforward way if he was actually concerned about it. And he's come out in the aftermath of it and feigned as if he literally used the words angered and appalled. And so he said he was angered and appalled by the actions of these rioters at the Capitol. And it was absurd, because the reality wasn't, and what Tim Black pointed out, and I think it was a great point that he was making, was that if Donald Trump wanted to, prevent that violence that day, all he had to do was come out at any point and just do a live stream, call a press conference, and come out and address his supporters and say, listen, I do not believe in this. I find these actions reprehensible. We cannot go about things this way. We cannot use violence and insurrection in order to achieve our goals. We have to respect democracy and democratic elections. If he truly believed in these things, he could have come out and he could have done a live stream and he could have said that. And a lot of people would have gone home. They would have listened to their, they would have listened to their leader, right? And Tim Black made that point. And then later that day, I saw a clip on Democracy Now! That I think just absolutely proved what he said to be 100% correct. And so I shared the clip with them, because I just, I was editing video and I was just like, oh, I tried to fit the clip into in with the clip that I gave him. And so I just wanted to show him and say, hey, look, at your point was proven. And so he ended up on his next episode, he shared that clip and shouted us out. And so I'll show you a few clips here. First clip that we'll show is just him shouting out the show, because I think it's cool. And then I'll give you the clip that gives you more context, and then I'll show you what he's referring to as well. So, all right. So first up, here's Tim Black giving the Radical Democracy Show and myself a shout out, and I thought it was really cool. So check it out here.
Radical Democracy is a YouTube channel by my friend Kamali Rose. Kamali. And Kamali is a real dope young brother, man. He's coming up, he's doing this thing. And he helps me out by doing part-time editing for me.
All right. So I thought that was pretty cool. Here, we'll listen to it one more time real quick.
Radical Democracy is a YouTube channel by my friend Kamali Rose. Kamali. And Kamali is a real dope young brother, man. He's coming up, he's doing this thing. And he helps me out by doing part-time editing for me.
All right. So that was pretty cool, right? That's pretty cool. I like that. So thank you, boss man, Tim, Mr. Black. Appreciate that. Really do. Really deeply appreciate that shout out. That was really cool. I'm honored to have someone like that, who is an example and just someone that is already where I would like to get to someday. And so this was just a really cool, to hear him shout out. He checks out the show from time to time. He'll sometimes post and retweet when I tweet out about the show, or he'll just find it and tweet out a clip of the show. So it's really cool that he uses his platform to try to help other independent Black left media, personas try to come up. And so that's just cool. That's cool stuff. So let me just show you real quick the clip that he originally, you know, what he was originally talking about. And then this is a clip that I edited for the show. This is just a 1-minute clip of what, you know, what the, you know, him talking about how Trump could have prevented the violence at the Capitol Hill, which I think is a great point, very poignant, and hasn't been made broadly enough, unfortunately. And so I really want to share this out. So take a look here. Here he is. This is Tim Black talking about how Trump could have avoided the violence. And you're going to see that literally one of the people that he names in this clip, one of the people that he names is going to be the person who we're going to hear from in a follow-up clip. All right. So just listen closely to what he says here about how Trump could have avoided this violence.
He's the president of the United States. He could have held a live stream. He could have said these words. Hey, cut it out. Cut it out, Johnson. Go home. This is not what I want you to do. If you're a Trump supporter, don't do this. This does not look good for us. This is not how we want to conduct ourselves. Let's be patriots. And you know what would have happened? Brother Numsky and the other degenerates or whatever they are, the guy with the horns on his head, the guy with the Nazi swastika crap, the guy with the Confederate flags, all these guys, they would have looked at their phones. They'd have been like, wow, Donald Trump's on the phone doing a live stream. And then they would have heard the guy whose opinion they value more than anyone else's opinion. And they would have said, Donald Trump just told us to go home. Know what would have happened if he did that? At least 50% of his people would have left.
All right. So here's the clip that I found that I think absolutely proved his point. This was a clip shared on Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman. What we're going to hear from is the guy with the horns, right? The QAnon shaman, as they're calling him, the guy with the horns that you saw in the U.S. Capitol riots, insurrection, whatever you want to call it. And so listen to him. Listen to what he says here, all right, about what caused him. This is him being interviewed right in the immediate aftermath of the U.S. Capitol insurrection, riots, looting. And he's walking out of the, you know, the Senate building, essentially the U.S. Capitol building. He's walking out and he gets interviewed on the spot. And listen to what he says, you know, what he's doing at the moment, right? Listen to what he says he's doing, right? They ask him, oh, what are you doing here? And why he ended up leaving.
How did you get out?
I got what?
How did you get out?
The Senate?
Yeah.
Cops walked out with me.
They just let you go?
Yeah.
What's your message to everybody now? Like, what are you yelling at?
Oh, Donald Trump asked everybody to go home. He just put out a tweet. It's a minute long. He asked everybody to go home.
Why do you think so?
Because, dude, we won the day.
All right. So I don't know if you just heard him there, but they asked him, you know, what are you doing? And, you know, what are you saying? What are you saying to people? Because if you see in his hand, he's got the microphone to a loudspeaker. All right. So he's on his loudspeaker and he's talking to other members of this insurrectionist mob. And he's telling the other members. So here's one of the leaders of this movement here who saw a tweet from Donald Trump and then immediately followed that by leaving the building and rallying all of his comrades on the way out of the building. All right. So he's rallying people, telling them to leave. And why is he telling them to leave? Because literally he says, Donald Trump told us to. I'll let you hear it one more time. It's only 20 seconds. Take a quick one more listen to this.
How did you get out?
I got what?
How did you get out?
The Senate?
Yeah.
Cops walked out with me.
They just let you go?
Yeah.
What's your message to everybody now? Like, what are you yelling at?
What are you yelling at?
Donald Trump asked everybody to go home. He just put out a tweet. It's a minute long. He asked everybody to go home.
Why do you think so?
Because, dude, we won the day.
All right. So you got one of the leaders of the movement there saying that, you know, they were like, what are you yelling at people on the loudspeaker there? He's like, you know, telling them to go home, right? Why? Because Donald Trump just told us to go home. All right. So literally you got his own, you know, the key members of this mob saying, if Donald Trump told us to go home, we'd have gone home. And as soon as he did tell us to go home, we went home. All right. So this is a really great point that Tim Black had made. And it stood out to me when he first made the point. I ended up cutting the clips of it because I was like, this is a really great point and needs to be made for folks. And then to see the clip on Democracy Now! Is like, boom, like that's wild. Right. So, yeah, so he gave a shout out and he later on in the segment, Tim Black talks about how he just like, you know, how he also how I shared the clip with him, and that's why he shouted me out and everything. So thought that was really cool, and really appreciated the shout out, and really appreciated him making a key, important, critical point on this, and one that I missed, honestly, and I think a lot of people in the media missed, and just wanted to highlight that and give it some more, just echo that sentiment.